Happening now, the nation pays tribute to the September 11th terrorist attacks. Local coverage of a ceremony taking place here in Chautauqua County is just moments away. Plus, a look at other local news headlines, including the filming of a new movie in the town of Gary.
And the clouds are going to be slow to part this afternoon, but the sun will be returning as we go through the afternoon, and fall-like air is on the way. I'll tell you about it next. The News at Noon starts now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now on this Friday. I'm Justin Gould. Today marks a solemn day to remember those who died in the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Here's a live look at Ground Zero in New York City. Former President George W. Bush declared the first Patriot Day just before September 11th, 2002. That was a year after the attacks claimed nearly 3,000 lives on September 11th, 2001. Now, terrorists hijacked 4 planes. 2 of them crashed into both World Trade Center towers in New York City, causing them to collapse. Another crashed into the Pentagon, while the 4th went down in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Now, after passengers struggled with hijackers, now on Patriot Day, you can honor their memories by volunteering, spreading kindness, and participating in remembrance vigils. Chautauqua County officials are holding a remembrance vigil that is set to get underway right now at noon at the Chautauqua County Courthouse. We'll bring you live coverage of that as soon as it gets underway here. But today, we heard the politics being set aside amidst this presidential election from both President Donald Trump and former Vice President and presidential candidate Joe Biden, and speaking at various events nationwide today. And even amid this coronavirus pandemic, it almost seemed more fitting to have these ceremonies where the families of those who lost loved ones were still able to remember them. And you see some of these live shots coming from New York City as they just had a noon taps being played there, some of the family members. And there were cheers this morning, if you got a chance to watch some of that live coverage, because the families were just so grateful that they could remember their loved one and that they could come together amid all that we've gone through in these last 6 months or even more at this point, where we were able to still remember the great sacrifices and the heroes of so many there in New York City, in Washington, D.C., and in Pennsylvania. Let's go live now to Chautauqua County in Mayville, where officials are holding a local 9/11 remembrance ceremony.
American Legion Commander. Welcome everyone that's virtual. This is a solemn day, and we will do our best to make it that way. First up, we have for the invocation Stan Koski. He's a past county commander, and he is the district American Legion commander and the county American Legion, no, not commander, district American Legion chaplain and county American Legion chaplain. Stanley? Anybody with a cover on, uncover.
On this, the 19th anniversary of September 11th, may each of us pause to remember, reflect, and renew our country's commitment to the fundamental values of inclusion, equity, and diversity. On the morning of September 11th, we were all stunned by the billowing black smoke against the brilliant blue sky and mourn the loss of thousands of precious lives. The images and events of that faithful day have left an indelible imprint on our hearts and minds. Remember that day with sadness, and remember the awe-inspiring unity we all felt, a collective national expression of how Americans can come together across racial, ethnic, and class and geographic lines. Let us reflect on that spirit we felt that day, when we resolved the fact that we are all Americans working together with compassion and generosity and understanding. Amen.
Next, we'll have Susan Raleigh. She's the president of the Blue Star Mothers of Chautauqua County. People that don't understand what Blue Star Mothers are, a Blue Star Mother is any mom that has a child or had a child in the military. They do a great service. It solves a lot of problems. They are a good, cohesive group. Susan?
Thank you, Henry. Where were you when the world stopped turning 19 years ago today? We all remember the moment we heard about a plane hitting one of the towers of the World Trade Center, and the realization that it was a terrorist attack on our nation the moment the second plane hit. The United States was under attack. We lost nearly 3,000 innocent Americans that day, in and around the Twin Towers in New York City, at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and in Pennsylvania, where some everyday heroes took over a plane and most likely saved many more lives. We watched in horror as our heroic first responders, along with many others who never considered themselves heroes, but became heroes on that bright and sunny September morning, along with the days and weeks that followed. I always wonder as I stand here in the presence of so many of our military heroes, why I was asked to speak. I have never worn a uniform, nor have I ever served our country. However, I am honored to have been chosen to speak on behalf of the military families in our area. I can honestly say that for all of us, these past 19 years have been very difficult. My son has served for the past 15 years and continues to serve today. When we look back on September 11th, 2001, we think about the brave firefighters and policemen in New York City and at the Pentagon and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. We think about those who lost their lives in the attack. We think about their families. We think about those men and women who bravely joined our military in the days, weeks, months, and years following 9/11, many of whom were sent directly to a war zone in the aftermath, and over 7,000 who never returned home to their families. Thousands more who were injured and returned home with scars, seen and unseen, that changed them forever. I still think about them all, along with their families. That is over 10,000 American heroes and over 10,000 American families who have endured the horror and terror of losing a loved one tragically, along with countless others whose lives have been altered because of the scars of war for them and their families. We need to remember each one of them today and hold them in our hearts. What strikes me the most today is how much we as Americans have changed in the past 19 years. When I think back on the days following the attacks, I remember a different America. We had just endured one of the most devastating times in American history, yet out of the rubble of the towers, the Pentagon, and the crash in that field, there arose an amazing wave of patriotism. We were all Americans. We all felt the same loss. Stores ran out of flags to sell, and they were being flown everywhere. People were Americans before anything else. We worked alongside one another, respected one another, we accepted one another for our differences, and we welcomed them, as we are a nation that is made up of differences. We all mattered. We still do. I know COVID has been a very difficult time, but I am here to remind you, as a representative of military families everywhere, we have been through challenging times before. We have endured, and we have overcome only as Americans do. Let us work to become who we were on September 12th. We were Americans, and united we stand. We have proved that over and over. We will not be divided. We cannot be. It's up to all of us to make sure that doesn't happen. Our flag stands for freedom. Our fathers, our mothers, our sisters and brothers, our children have fought, and they are still fighting for freedom. Let us all remember 9/11 by vowing to show more respect to one another. And let us all work to be sure that we are much more deserving of that respect. We owe it to our America. Always remember our fallen and what they have sacrificed for our freedom. God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. She always does a great job. Next up, we have James Lemansky. Jim Lemansky. Jim is the Chautauqua County American Legion commander. This last year, we had a real challenge. The American Legion normally elects a new commander every year. This last year, because of COVID, Jim is the first one in the American Legion history that has held the Chautauqua County American Legion commander's job for 2 years. So he gets to do this twice. He's a good man. Jim.
Thank you. Good afternoon. 3,000 people lost their lives on September 11th, 19 years ago. Of those 3,300 of them were first responders, firemen and police officers. One of these firemen was a man named Stephen Spiller, who was a member of the 343rd Company of the Manhattan Fire Department. It was his day off. He got going to play golf with his brother. He got caught in a Lincoln tunnel. He heard on the radio what was going on. He put on his firefighting equipment and ran the 2 miles from the tunnel to the tower. An hour later, the tower collapsed and Stephen was dead. We must never forget these first responders who put their own safety ahead of their own. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. Next up, we have Greg Carlson. Greg is the Chautauqua County Veterans Director, doing an excellent job. Thank you, Greg.
Good afternoon. Thanks everyone for being here. I remember as a kid growing up, hearing my grandparents and parents talk about certain times in your life where you remember what you were doing and exactly what was happening on that day. I can remember my grandparents talking about Pearl Harbor Day. I remember my dad talking about the day John F. Kennedy was assassinated. In my lifetime, 9/11, 2001 was that day. I was an Air Force recruiter. I was assigned to the 313th Recruiting Squadron, and we were doing our annual training at the reserve station in Niagara Falls. Now, on a weekday, a reserve base is not very busy. This was before the entire world was controlled by smartphones, and at your fingertips, you knew exactly what was going on. We were in an old building. We were in a classroom, and our class started at 8 o'clock. We were supposed to have a break at 9, but for some reason that day we decided just to continue through. We probably wanted to get to lunch a little earlier, so we skipped the break. Right around 9:15 to 9:30, we heard the base siren go off. We didn't think much of it. We just figured they were either testing the system or some training must be going on. Then shortly thereafter, someone came and knocked on our door, and I'll never forget the look on his face. And he said, "We've been attacked." And all of us were quite confused at that moment because we weren't sure what that meant. We didn't know if the base had been attacked. We didn't know exactly what they were talking about. Obviously, we all funneled to the closest television and turned it on and realized that, in a way, our entire country was under attack. And everything that happened after that is a blur, but it was a profound moment that changed everybody's life. It changed the fabric of America for a period of time. And I remember that moment vividly, because that was that moment in my life where I'll always remember where I was and what I was doing. So many things I learned during that time that we seem to forget. A couple of things that stick to me. The first is that tomorrow is not promised. 3,000 people woke up that morning and had no idea that that would be their last earthly day. And after that, I remember thinking to myself, never give up an opportunity to tell somebody that you love them, to tell someone that you care about them, or to forgive somebody, to let go of grudges, because all those things that you think are so important in a moment like that aren't important anymore. The other thing that struck me was that this country is an amazing place of people with a servant heart. I think of all the first responders, and it's just a mental image I have, that as other people were trying to escape the building shortly before it collapsed, they were charging upward. And that is something that they did voluntarily and of their own free will to save other people. And beyond that, the many human beings that were in that building, that were employees there or in the Pentagon, the stories that you hear time and time again of them holding someone's hand or saving someone or letting someone go before them, and that person waiting at the bottom to never see them come out. And those are things that, even though that day was traumatic, it showed the true resolve of the American people and the serving heart that we as Americans have. I'm humbled that you're here today to remember 9/11. I'm humbled to have the opportunity to speak in front of you, and I know that I will never forget 9/11. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, we're watching live coverage of the 9/11 ceremony taking place here in Chautauqua County, featuring words from local dignitaries. Coming up, New York State Senator George Brello, Chautauqua County Executive P.J. Wendell, and as we just heard from Chautauqua County's Veterans Service Agency Director Greg Carlson. 9/11 has been such a remarkable time, I think, and such a horrible event that occurred. But as Mr. Carlson mentioned, it's something that in fact touches all of us and has impacted so many. And we all remember where we were that day. So watching this ceremony take place there at the Chautauqua County Courthouse, where locals are paying tribute to Americans who died on that very faithful day. We thank you for joining us for our special coverage. We're going to now pull away from the live coverage to get a check of some local news headlines coming up right after this.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
I grew up in a single-parent home. We were raised by my mom in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens, and I slept in what was supposed to be a dining room just off the kitchen. We were poor and fell behind in our bills. More than once our electricity was shut off and there were eviction notices taped to our door. I remember walking into our kitchen and finding my mother standing by the stove, crying to herself because she didn't know what to do and felt helpless. I was about 9 or 10 when our apartment was robbed. I remember arriving home with my mother and brother and finding the door open, feeling confused because the first thing I saw was that our television, a set which forever sat on a stand in the living room, was missing. I know firsthand what it's like to be a victim, to be assaulted, robbed, to have things taken from you which you're never going to get back, and to be scarred by experiences which 30 and 40 years later still haunt me. We're lucky enough to live in Chautauqua County where by and large we feel safe, but unfortunately bad things do happen here. I want to be the district attorney who personally prosecutes the most serious crimes and who's there for victims every step of the way. These are the people I want to represent, to fight for their justice, to fight for our justice in the courtroom, to help people who have suffered at the hands of others. This is why I want to be your district attorney.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back. Here's a check of some local news headlines. Chautauqua County health officials reported 60 new cases of COVID-19 yesterday afternoon, bringing the total number of positive cases to 550. Here's an updated look at the COVID-19 case map. Now, according to officials, 11 cases are centered in the northeast part of the county, with 1 new case in the northwest, 3 in the south, and 1 in the east. Now, of these new cases, 2 are SUNY Fredonia students. 485 people remain under quarantine or isolation orders. Now today at 1 o'clock, county health officials are scheduled to hold the COVID-19 press conference update. We'll bring that live to you right here on WNYNewsNow.com. And in other news that we're following here today, an update on the fight to get the next round of stimulus. The U.S. Senate has failed to advance a Republican stimulus bill to address some of the economic impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. It comes 4 months after House Democrats passed their $3 trillion plan. The Senate version was narrower and would have cost about a tenth of the House's proposal. It would provide $300 in extra weekly unemployment benefits, but not include another round of stimulus checks. Yesterday's vote was 52 to 47 and did not meet the 60-vote threshold. All Democrats and Republican Senator Rand Paul voted against it.
Republicans have tried repeatedly to build on the CARES Act and get more help out the door to American families. Democrats have blocked us at every turn. Today, every senator will either say they want to send families the relief we can agree to, or they can send families nothing.
This bill is not going to happen because it is so emaciated, so filled with poison pills, so partisanly designed. It was designed to fail.
Well, Congress passed legislation earlier this year providing more than $2 trillion in response to the COVID pandemic. As many as 2 million unemployed New Yorkers will start receiving their share of an extra $300 a week assistance boost from a temporary federal fund that's now running out of money. The state is contacting another 435,000 people who are eligible for that boost. Labor officials say eligible New Yorkers will start receiving payments the week it's ending August 2nd, 9th, and 16th. The federal government has said all eligible recipients will receive 6 months' worth of the $300 a week boost over that period. Now, New York is not among a handful of states that kicked in an additional $100 to enhance the payment. A local filmmaker is producing an independent movie that will include taping at Heritage Ministries on Route 60 in the village of Gary. Travis Carlson says the movie, called Mother's Day, is based on a true story involving the relationship with his mom. He says the film will involve a difficult conversation.
We're making a movie called Mother's Day, which is based on a true story about my relationship with my mother. She had some degree of mental illness, and we had a very difficult conversation one day, and I feel like making a film that represents that and helps show my transition to appreciate that the world is different for different people might help others also have that reaction.
Now, we also spoke with the senior chaplain of Heritage, who says that the production will allow that organization to have their community values displayed. He adds that filming can serve as a reminder that talent can be found in any town, no matter how big or small. Carlson says the full production is scheduled to be complete this winter. Well, now let's get a check of our First Defense weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. Hey, Dakota, happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday, Justin, and happy Friday to you. Let's get right into it. Let's take a look at Links 1, and we'll take a look at the temperatures over the next 5 days. Oh, yeah, that fall air is going to be coming in like mad. 68 today. Now, we warm up back into the 70s over the weekend, but take a look at next week. 64 Monday, 67 on Tuesday. The fall air is going to be coming in. And, hey, let's do a quick recap of summer here. So again, basically through June all the way through August, that is meteorological summer. Our average temperature was 69.5 degrees. We had 11.82 inches of rain, and we had 10 days where the high temperature was at 85 or above for that particular date. That's hot by our standards. And what's interesting, none of those 85 plus degree days occurred in August. They were in June and July. So fall foliage, first time this season we've broke this out. Hey, there's no change right now across Western New York, but you get up into the Adirondacks where they've had cooler air so far. The change is already starting to occur there, but no change across Western New York. And of course, this is updated every Thursday by NYSTEC. Do you know what else is Sunday? Buffalo Bills back, baby. It's the season opener. They're going to be taking on the Jets in Buffalo. Now, of course, you can't go to the game, but of course, it will be televised, and they're going to be fighting through some rain showers, which are lower 70s at basically not New Era Field anymore. It is now Buffalo Bills Stadium. We forgot to update that. But anyway, cold front has slid on by. We have a high pressure ridge set up to our northwest. That is the reason why the clouds are around today, is because that high pressure is built in from the north and west. You can see it here on Future Scan, but watch what happens here. The clouds will go whoop. The clouds will go away basically through the afternoon. So expect the clouds to go away, partly to mostly sunny for the afternoon. Look at tonight, mainly clear. Temperatures really dip back by morning. Now tomorrow should be partly to mostly sunny, and then we'll get a chance for rain showers going in on Sunday, more widespread nature. So tomorrow is going to be your best weekend day. Temperatures in the inland areas today, look at this, only mid to upper 60s across much of the area. Man, break out the pumpkin spice and take a look at it for tonight. Most of the area tonight will likely dip in the 40s, 43 in the valleys, 52 at the lake. Close those windows. How about the next 7 days of your life that are coming up right now? Again, tomorrow is your pick day for the weekend. 71 on Sunday, wet and breezy. The wind picks up along with those rain showers. 64 Monday, 67 Tuesday. Lots of sun to make you feel warmer, but again, it's sweatpants weather, pumpkin spice, latte. I'm okay with it. I mean, you know, especially with those temperatures. But then we do rebound a little bit going into late next week with a few sun and clouds both Wednesday and Thursday. Justin.
All right, Dakota, thank you. Well, in an effort to help animals find their forever home, we're partnering with the Chautauqua County Humane Society in a segment called The Pet of the Week. Joining us live is Brian Papalea, the Director of Community Relations for the Chautauqua County Humane Society, and Massachusetts, our feline friend. Brian, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Justin. Well, Massachusetts is, again, I've been holding him for a little while here, so he's getting a little antsy. But I heard the mention of pumpkin spice, so I thought he was appropriate as a pumpkin spice colored cat.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome looking.
Yeah, he's 5 years old, and he is blind, but come on, buddy. But he really is a lover. He's just a little tired of me holding him at the moment.
Yeah, that's what happens. Unfortunately, sometimes we get pushed back, but we do have an image that we have up now of Massachusetts, and I think that the interesting point to make, Brian, is being a blind cat. Does that kind of change the situation if someone was looking to have him come in their home? Is there anything else that they have to kind of do to help foster that?
Well, I think patience is going to be something, because something we've noticed here is once he knows his space, and he has the other cats here in the colony, he really does a good job. Even things like the windowsill, he can jump onto the windowsill. He knows the room. He does well with the other cats. He approaches. He actually is able to be held real well until he gets tired of you. but so he's a really nice guy. I've been coming in all week and getting myself acquainted with him, just so he knows my scent and he knows, it's a safe person. And so, yeah, he's just been great.
Yeah, certainly. And I think that's with any pet is when they get tired of it, they're going to tell you. That's for sure.
But yeah, he just Big Mississippi from last week, they actually kind of pal around a little bit, I've noticed, when I come in. So, he does get along with other cats, at least the ones here. So that's definitely, a possibility.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if anyone is interested in to learn more a little bit about Massachusetts or even Big Mississippi from last week, it's really easy. All you have to do is visit chqhumane.org. Maybe you could get them together, and if someone was interested in both cats, that would be great if they're buds.
Yeah. So and we also have to mention our Walk for Paws coming up right around the corner here. It's coming up Saturday, October 3rd, virtual this year, as you guys covered in your story last week. So we're thankful for anybody who might want to take part in that. I'm just going to try to come down to floor level so you can see some of the real stars here.
Wow.
There we go.
The cat colony is always so amazing. It's so full of life, I think.
Yeah, it really is. And just so people know, we do have some dogs up for adoption as well. We have a dog named Roscoe we're really working hard to find either a foster or an adoptive family for. You can find a video about him up on our Facebook page.
All right, certainly we'll look forward to it. Brian Papalea with the Chautauqua County Humane Society. Brian, thanks so much for your time this week and for allowing us to come in and get a nice behind-the-scenes look. We appreciate it.
Thanks for all your help, Justin.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Of course, news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com. We'll be back Monday here live at noon. Hope to see you then.